Are you rolling?
Yep.
All right. So today, for today's martial mobility video, we're going to talk about twirls in Filipino martial arts. So a lot of people will see things like this, these twirls, and they'll kind of look at the different ways that they do this. A lot of times it can kind of look like flash, but I really like these for the many myriad of applications that they have as a way to increase some of my range of motion for my wrist and literally to increase some of my mobility for the wrist too. So easy ways to start if you've never done Filipino martial arts. You're just going to have a stick, and there's two main directions that we go, forward and backward. And so my forward circle, I'm going to hold my hand closed. I'm going to try not to open this up too much. It will be easy for me to take a cone shape or a cone grip and kind of open up these fingers. But typically, then we're just rotating this in this OK sign, and we don't. You can do that, but to open up the wrist, increase some of the mobility, we'll try to have the hand closed, and it doesn't have to be tight. You don't even have to do this fast, but we'll try to make a circle this way. So if I do my forward circles, I'm just going to make a circle this way. What you'll often find, and what you'll see in a second, is that one hand is much more loose and fluid than the other. So if you see the same thing, the same motion, and I switch it to my other hand, you'll start to notice that it's not quite as smooth. Sometimes there may be parts where it actually looks like, it will feel kind of like there's a burr in the motion. And so when you do this, you can do it nice and slow. You can let a little bit of the weight of the weapon move you. Now, I definitely wouldn't recommend this with any kind of heavy weapon like a baseball bat or a pipe, because it's too hard for the tendons and the musculature and the bone structure of the wrist. But we're just going to use it like this just to kind of open up. So I can have my forward circle on the outside. I can turn it in, and I can have my forward circle on the inside. And sometimes it's going to be like this. If I face you, it'll kind of almost look like a cone this way. I want to try the best that I can to really open this up. So instead of this, it may look like this in the beginning. I'll try to open this up a little bit. You can engage other articulates of the arm, so you can engage the elbow and the shoulder and do these kinds of things. But for right now, really just for the wrist, I'm going to try to isolate this. Try to keep this not Kung Fu death grip tight. You know, if I do, actually you'll see it. You'll see some weird variations in the path, in the circular path. So I want to try to keep it a little bit loose, but not open up all the way, and really use this to try to open up my wrist. And so I have my forward circle on the outside, my forward circle on the inside, and if I alternate it, we'll have this. We just call these forward eights. If I'm facing you, my forward eights are this way. And probably the biggest difference is if you see me do this with my other hand, when you see it on this side, you should see it already because I can feel it. It will look a little bit different. Not quite as smooth, but actually as you do this, even in time, even after a couple seconds or a few minutes, sometimes this will already start to loosen up, and you'll get a smoother, more fluid path on the inside. And you'll feel this too, because I can already feel like my wrist is a little bit tight, you know, from all day, from working. And so I'm going to have this. I want to try to loosen this up as much as I can, and then I can combine them. And I'll have my forward eights on this side. And so we have our directions, these forward circles, outside, inside, and my eights, and I can combine them. So I can do my 8 to outside to 8 to inside, 8 to outside, 8 to inside, and so forth. I can also change the direction, so I have these upward eights, or upward reverse circles on this side, or reverse circles on this side, on the inside too. And I can change. I can do the same thing too. So go on the outside, I'll 8. I'll go on the inside, I'll 8. Outside, and you know, we don't have a fixed pattern per se in this one exercise, but what we're just trying to do is, and you can see that there's some weird variations in some of the movement and some of the mobility. So it doesn't have to be fast. I can take it nice and slow, but I really want to try to develop some smooth fluidity and smoothness, if you will, in the path. And these can be very good ways that you can just kind of warm up if you're going to be doing stick work. It's good for anything, actually. The way that the wrist joint is, it's not a hinging joint like my elbow. My wrist can go in all directions. Not all directions. It has a very wide cone of movement. And so like with any kind of mobility, any kind of movement that we're doing, we're going to try to increase and get the full range, as full of a range of motion as we can. So just like if I do my squat, I want to try to go down as low as I can. If I'm going to lift my arm, I want to try and get as high as I can. For my wrist, I really want to try and get this too. And so this kind of movement you'll see pretty universally in most martial arts. In Filipino martial arts, we use this a lot when we're manipulating our weapon. I'm not going to get into any of the applications or functions of these right now, but suffice to say, this is more than just flashy moves. it is a good way to develop some of the mobility and range of motion for your wrists.